Best sci-fi base building games for 2026? We're not talking about games where you slap down a few walls and call it a day. We're ranking the titles where construction actually matters, where your base determines survival, progression, and domination. Number 6.
Let's talk about Palworld, the survival game that broke the internet in early 2024 by combining creature collection with guns, automation, and base building. Think Pokemon meets Ark, but with a factory management twist. You capture creatures called pals, explore a massive open world, and build bases that operate like self-sustaining production facilities. It sold over 15 million copies on Steam in its first month, and the base building automation is a huge reason why. Now let's talk about what you can actually build. The Palbox system. Your base starts at level 2 when you place a Palbox. This creates a circular boundary, your base zone, where everything you build must stay. The Palbox isn't just a marker, it's your PAL storage, fast travel point, and base management hub all in one. You can build up to 3 bases total, unlocked at base levels 10 and 15. This multi-base system creates genuine strategic depth. Most players run one main production hub, one dedicated mining outpost near ore nodes, and one specialized facility for breeding or resource extraction. Each Palbox doubles as a fast travel point, so smart placement cuts travel time across the map. Automation through workforce. Here's what makes Palworld different. Your pals are your workforce, and they run everything autonomously. Each pal has work suitabilities, kindling, handiwork, mining, lumbering, transporting, planting, watering, generating electricity, gathering. These aren't cosmetic traits. They determine what jobs your pals perform and how efficiently. Deploy a pal with lumbering to your base, build a logging site, and they'll autonomously cut trees and haul wood to storage. Build a plantation, assign pals with planting and watering, and you've got automated farming that runs whether you're there or not. Furnaces smelt ore automatically with kindling pals. Assembly lines operate with multiple handiwork pals working simultaneously. The CEO of Pocket Pair credits this automation mechanic as Palworld's primary success factor. You're not micromanaging every task. You're designing self-sustaining production chains. Production buildings and progression. Structure progression goes wooden to stone to metal. Wooden structures unlock early but burn during raids, so stone is the minimum for anything critical. Metal tier unlocks at level 30 and provides the best durability. Production buildings scale from primitive workbenches to high-quality workbenches to production assembly lines that allow 3 pals to work simultaneously. Weapon assembly lines, electric furnaces, crushers, mills, each unlocked through the technology tree, creates more complex automation possibilities. The depth comes from chaining production. Pals mine ore, transport it to furnaces, smelt it into ingots, move those to assembly lines, and craft finished products, all autonomous. You're managing the workflow, not performing the tasks. Strategic layout design. Optimal base design focuses on minimizing PAL travel time. Place feed boxes centrally so pals can eat without long trips. Position storage chests near production buildings, since you can craft using materials in any chest within your base. Strategic placement cuts down on transport time. Flat, open layouts work best. Spread buildings with clear pathways between them. The game rewards functional design over aesthetics, but the production efficiency you achieve makes it worthwhile. What makes it unique Palworld isn't a traditional survival builder. It's automation-first design where base building means optimizing factory workflows. You're assigning specialized labor, managing production chains, and creating genuinely hands-off resource generation that continues while you're exploring, raiding dungeons, or capturing more pals. If you want self-sustaining bases where your workforce handles everything, Palworld delivers automation depth unmatched in the survival genre.
Number 5.
I just wanted to find a way out.
The Altars launched on June 13th, 2025, and within 6 months, it transformed from one of the year's most stressful survival management games into something you can play with a beer in one hand, while vibing to the story. And that's not a criticism, that's a masterclass in listening to your player base. So let me set the stage. The Altars is this sci-fi survival game from 11-Bit Studios, the folks behind this War of Mine and Frostpunk, which should immediately tell you what kind of emotional damage we're dealing with here. You play as Jan Dalsky, a space miner who crash lands on this hostile planet where one of the suns will literally incinerate everything when it rises. You've got days, not weeks, days to get your wheel-shaped mobile base operational and escape before sunrise turns you into space dust. But here's the hook. Your entire crew died in the crash. You're alone. One guy trying to do the work of an entire technical team. Scientists, doctors, miners, botanists, all gone. So the game introduces you to Repidium, this resource that lets you create altars, alternate versions of yourself, based on different life choices Jan could have made. Maybe in one timeline, Jan became a doctor. Maybe in another, he went to work at a refinery instead of going to university. Every altar has different skills, different personalities, different memories of a life they actually lived. And managing these versions of yourself is where the game gets intense. Because at launch, the Altars was built around time pressure. Everything takes time. Mining takes a chunk of your day. Crafting takes time. Cooking, healing, fixing things, it all eats into your limited daylight hours. And you're not just managing resources, you're managing the emotional states of multiple versions of yourself who can get overworked, hurt, hungry, pissed off. They can literally stage a mutiny and force you out, resulting in game over. The survival loop at launch was unforgiving. You could only save at the end of each day, so if you made a bad decision midway through, tough luck. Ride it out or lose hours of progress. The deadline was constantly looming. Magnetic storms damaged your base. Radiation outside drained your health. Your altars had needs and demands. Some wanted privacy. Some needed to work out. Some needed gifts. Some just needed someone to talk to, figure out what makes each guy tick, or watch your entire operation fall apart. You're venturing out onto the planet's surface with limited battery in your suit. You can only use tools for so long before you're stranded. The terrain is this intricate labyrinth where you're slowly mining resources, building power pylons to connect everything back to base, dodging environmental hazards. It felt like Death Stranding meets Fallout Shelter, meets a psychological thriller about identity and choice. The game was praised at launch, 88% positive on Steam. Critics loved it. Alex Jordan's performance voicing all 12 different versions of Jan was phenomenal, but the feedback was consistent. This game is stressful as hell. Players were saying things like, "I love this game, but the time pressure is killing me, and I want to experience the story without the constant anxiety." One player specifically said, "Relax mode is big for me. I was too stressed out with the deadlines." The game sold 280,000 copies by July, hit Game Pass day one, and 11-Bit Studios had a certified hit on their hands. But they also had players who wanted to experience Jan's story, who were invested in the branching narrative and the altar dynamics, but couldn't handle the survival mechanics grinding them down. Fast forward to December 8th, 2025. 11-Bit Studios drops their first major free content update, and it fundamentally changes what the altars can be for players. First up, Relax Mode. This isn't just difficulty sliders, this is a completely new way to experience the game. The description literally says, enjoy a game with calmer survival mechanics and less time pressure. Recommended for players who want to focus on the story. You still manage your base, you still create altars, you still explore, but the oppressive time constraints are dialed way back. The survival grind that made players panic, optional. You can now experience Jan's emotional journey, the altar dynamics, the branching narrative paths, without feeling like you're constantly on the verge of failure. But they didn't remove the original experience. That hardcore survival management loop is still there for players who want it. They just said, hey, we see you. You want different things from this game, and we're going to give you the choice. Then there's the new save system. Remember how you could only save at the end of each day at launch? Gone. Now you can save automatically when exiting and during key story moments. This is huge for a branching narrative game where exploring different outcomes is core to the experience. Want to see what happens if you create Jan Scientist instead of Jan Miner? Make a save before that decision. Want to experiment with dialogue choices? Save before critical conversations. The game now respects your time instead of forcing you to replay hours to see alternate paths. And here's where it gets interesting from a base building perspective. They added the Gamer's Den, a social space inside your wheel-shaped station where your crew of Johns can actually relax. There's a fully playable card game you can challenge your altars to. Beer pong, movie watching, furniture like sofas and painting setups. This isn't just cosmetic, it's emergent content that makes your base feel lived in. These aren't just resource management units anymore. They're distinct personalities with downtime activities, customization options for both your base exterior and Jan's spacesuit. You can now paint each section of your wheel station however you want, with skins inspired by Frostpunk and other 11-bit games. Spacesuit skins, so you're exploring in style. This seems small, but it's actually about player expression. You're spending hours in this environment. Now you can make it yours. Photo mode was added so you can capture moments with your crew of Johns. And look, we all know what photo mode really means. It's for players to create content, share screenshots, document their playthroughs, but it also pairs perfectly with relax mode. Now you can slow down, set up shots, appreciate the environmental design without rushing, and they threw in a noir-styled storyline, a black and white mystery mission where you're solving a shadowy crime aboard the station. It's extra content that expands the tonal range of the game and shows they're not done experimenting with the universe they created.
Number 4.
Let's be honest, most base building games give you a cozy house to decorate. Satisfactory hands you a 30 square kilometer alien planet and says, build a factory that processes millions of items per hour across multiple production tiers and make it look good doing it. This isn't base building. This is industrial engineering from a first-person perspective where your base is a sprawling network of automated production lines, conveyor highways, and power grids that would make a logistics manager weep with joy. The conveyor belt system is the backbone of everything. Belts transport items between buildings at different throughput rates. Mark I handles 60 items per minute. Mark II does 120, scaling up to Mark VI at 1,200 items per minute. Connect a miner's output to a belt, route it to smelters. Split the output to constructors using splitters. 1 input, 3 outputs. Merge multiple production lines with mergers. 3 inputs, 1 output. 1 output, and suddenly you've got automated iron plate production, running 24/7 without touching a single item manually. Belts snap to building ports, and conveyor poles can be built in straight lines or curves, and physically show every item traveling along them. Watching resources flow through your factory is genuinely mesmerizing. But horizontal building is just the beginning. Satisfactory's genius is vertical construction. Stack foundations to create multi-story factories, smelters on ground level, constructors on floor 2, assemblers on floor 3. Use conveyor lifts to transport items between floors at rates matching belt throughput. Up to 1,200 items per minute on me, K6 lift. Stackable conveyor poles let you run belt highways at different elevations, creating bus systems that ferry materials across your factory without clogging walkways. You can attach splitters and mergers directly to conveyor lifts mid-height for modular vertical logistics. Build logistics floors, hidden levels between production floors where belt spaghetti can run wild without cluttering your clean assembly lines. Above reserve 7 to 11 meters of headspace for these utility levels to stack 3 or 4 belts vertically. Foundations are your building canvas. Snap them to grids. Hold control for precise rotation and positioning. Create flat surfaces on uneven terrain, and use them as structural bases for machines, walls, and multi-story complexes. You can build production platforms in canyons, over water, at mountain peaks. Terrain doesn't limit you, it just changes your engineering challenges. Floor holes let conveyor lifts pass between levels cleanly. Wall-mounted power outlets hide power lines inside foundations. 2 splitters or mergers fit perfectly on one foundation tile without clipping. Power management adds genuine strategic depth. Early game relies on biomass burners, manual fuel from leaves, and wood. Mid-game unlocks coal generators requiring automated coal mining, water pumps, and pipe networks. Late game brings oil, nuclear, and eventually geothermal power. Power poles connect generators to machines via visible electrical lines. Each pole has connection limits, so you organize grids by production area overclock machines with power shards, crafted from collectible slugs, to boost output 250%, but power consumption scales exponentially. Run out of electricity and your entire factory shuts down until you restore the grid pipes handle liquid transport, water, oil, fuel, acids, with flow rates measured in cubic meters per minute. Pumps lift fluids vertically. Junctions split and merge pipe networks. You'll build refineries converting crude oil into fuel, plastic, and rubber, each requiring precise pipe routing and fluid buffer management to prevent production stalls. Transportation scales beautifully. Walk and hand carry materials early on. Unlock factory carts running on conveyor belts for automated item transport. Build trucks with autopilot routes connecting distant outposts. Construct train networks spanning kilometers with automated schedules hauling thousands of items between megabases. Hypertubes launch you through pneumatic tubes at high speed. Jetpacks and jump pads provide vertical mobility. You're not just building factories. You're creating continent-spanning logistics networks. The space elevator progression system gates technology through tiers. Complete projects requiring increasingly complex components, from iron rods to supercomputers to nuclear pasta, to unlock advanced buildings, alternate recipes, and higher-tier production capabilities. Each tier demands factory expansion, forcing you to scale production, optimize throughput, and engineer solutions to bottlenecks. The MAM, Molecular Analysis Machine, researches alien artifacts and hard drives containing alternate recipes that dramatically change production efficiency. What makes Satisfactory special for builders is how it combines creative freedom with optimization obsession. You can build gorgeous glass-walled factories with perfect symmetry, or embrace conveyor belt spaghetti, where efficiency trumps aesthetics. Build modular blueprints replicating production blocks. Design man bus systems feeding materials to specialized manufacturing wings. Create self-contained production pods for specific components. The only limit is your imagination and willingness to plan throughput calculations. Or base builders who want every construction decision to affect industrial efficiency. where building isn't decoration but functional engineering that must balance throughput power consumption and spatial logistics across massive scales. Satisfactory is unmatched, your factory never sleeps, and watching it hum with automated perfection is profoundly well satisfactory.
Number 3.
Icarus, and this one has a unique twist on base building that some people love and others find frustrating, but hear me out on why it works. Available exclusively on PC via Steam, Icarus is a session-based survival game from the team at Rocketworks, the creators of DayZ. Your prospector's dropping onto this terraform planet that went horribly wrong, and you've got limited time to build, gather resources, and extract before you lose everything. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, I lose my base? Yes and no. Here's the genius of it. There's 2 modes. In the mission-based mode, you're building temporary bases, knowing they'll be gone, which actually creates this intense, focused building experience. You're not overthinking, you're building what you need to survive and complete objectives. But then there's Outpost mode, where you build permanently, and that's where the real base building shines. The building system itself is incredibly detailed. You start with basic thatch and wood structures, but you can progress through stone, concrete, and eventually high-tech materials. The modular construction system lets you build everything from simple shelters to elaborate multi-story compounds with electricity, automated defenses, and even biodomes for farming. What I love is the engineering aspect. You can set up conveyor systems, automated ore processors, and complex power grids using solar panels and biofuel generators. Your base isn't just a house, it's a functioning industrial operation. Plus, the game supports up to 8 players in co-op, so you can build massive collaborative settlements. The building pieces snap together satisfyingly, and there's enough variety to create unique structures. You've got different wall types, window configurations, doors with actual locking mechanisms, and furniture that serves functional purposes. The game even simulates structural integrity, so you need to think about support beams and foundations. Icarus continues to get substantial updates. They just added new biomes and building sets with their recent expansions. The developers are actively adding more construction options, and the community is constantly showing off incredible base designs. Yeah, the session-based nature takes getting used to, but once you embrace it or switch to Outpost mode, you've got one of the more technically impressive building systems out there. The game's got that satisfying weight to construction that makes every completed building feel substantial.
Number 2.
Space Engineers 2, the sequel that just launched in early access on January 27th, 2025, and completely reimagined what physics-based space construction can be. Built on the new V-Rage 3 engine, Space Engineers 2 takes everything the original game established over 11 years and rebuilds it from the ground up. You're building ships, stations, and planetary bases in a fully destructible volumetric universe where realistic physics simulation drives every interaction. It's in early access for the next 3 years with a roadmap that includes planets, survival mode, volumetric water, multiplayer, and a full story campaign. Now let's talk about what you can actually build. The Unified Grid System. Game Changer Space Engineers 2 eliminates the traditional small grid versus large grid distinction with a revolutionary 25-centimeter unified grid system. You can now build anything from intricate machinery to massive space stations within a single coherent grid. No more limitations on mixing block sizes. Everything snaps together with 25 centimeters precision. Block sizes span from 25 centimeters up through 0.5 meters, 2.5 meters, and beyond with no upper bound. The system handles shapes with the same precision, so a 2.5 meter slope occupies half the cubic space, leaving room for additional construction. You get automatic snapping based on block size, but manual fine-tuning is available with that same 25 centimeter granularity. This fundamentally changes base design possibilities. You're not working around grid restrictions anymore. You're building exactly what you envision. Blueprint and projection building. The blueprint system gives you snap to grid placement, partial copy/paste functionality, and the ability to assign blueprints directly to your toolbar. Copy entire structures or select partial grids as modular prefabs, rotate, cut, copy, paste, then attach to existing grids seamlessly. Grid undo and redo functionality means you can experiment without consequences. Place lines and walls of blocks instantly in creative mode, test designs, and roll back changes effortlessly. Projection building takes this further in survival mode. You place holographic projections of ships, rovers, and bases, then weld them up directly from ore using your backpack. The projection shows you exactly what you're building before you commit resources. Mirroring, copy/paste, blueprints, and grid undo/redo all work with projections, letting you iterate on designs rapidly. Backpack building, survival innovation. The backpack building system revolutionizes early game survival. Your engineer's backpack auto-processes raw ore into simple components, enabling immediate construction without establishing a full industrial base first. Mine ore, and your backpack handles smelting and basic component fabrication automatically. This doesn't replace advanced manufacturing. You still need production facilities for complex components and larger constructions. But it eliminates the tedious early game grind of setting up survival kits and basic assemblers before you can build anything meaningful. Advanced creative tools. Space Engineers 2 includes professional-grade building tools integrated directly into the game. The voxel hand tool lets you sculpt terrain and asteroids. Symmetry tools ensure balanced designs without manual mirroring. Line and plane building place entire rows or walls of blocks instantly. The paint tool allows full customization of your constructions. Combined with mounting point visualization and grid lines, the building interface makes complex construction intuitive for newcomers, while giving veterans unprecedented control. Character movement support speeds up to 310 meters per second, and grids can reach 300 meters per second, fast enough for genuine space travel. Mag boots and automatic jetpack activation prevent accidental falls during construction on platforms or asteroids. Ships, stations, and planetary bases. You're building across 3 categories: space stations, starships, and planetary bases. Everything is fully destructible and physically simulated. Construct modular space stations with docking bays and production facilities. Design starships with functional systems, power, propulsion, life support, weapons. Establish planetary bases with resource extraction and manufacturing. The current early access build includes 2 planets, Verdure and Chemic, with distinct biomes, volumetric clouds, and dynamic voxel hardness. Future updates add volumetric water, enabling underwater base construction and submarine design. Steam Workshop integration. The UGC Workshop connects directly to Steam Workshop, letting you share creations and discover blueprints built by the community. Modding support through VRage 3. Mod Hub and Mod Editor gives creators professional-grade tools for custom content. Space Engineers 2 isn't just iterating on the original. It's rebuilding the foundation for the next decade of space construction gameplay. The unified grid system removes artificial limitations. Projection building makes survival construction feel closer to creative mode. Backpack building eliminates early game tedium without sacrificing depth. If you want physics-based space engineering with unprecedented building precision and creative freedom, Space Engineers 2 delivers that vision in early access form, with years of development ahead expanding the possibilities.
Number 1.
StarRupture, and this one's for players who like their base building with a heavy dose of industrial automation and factory management. Creepy Jar, the same team behind Green Hell, StarRupture takes the survival base building formula and adds a Factorio-inspired twist. You're a prisoner on the planet Arcadia 7, forced to build factories and gather resources for faceless corporations, all while dealing with a star that periodically wipes the surface clean in apocalyptic ruptures. The base building here is all about industrial systems. You're not just constructing shelters, you're building entire automated production facilities. The game features complex resource chains where raw materials need to be processed through multiple stages. You'll set up mining drills on resource nodes, connect them with conveyor belts to processing facilities, smelt ores into usable materials, and automate production lines to craft everything you need. What makes this exciting is the scale you can achieve. You can build massive factories with multiple production lines running simultaneously, power grids using generators and power distributors, and storage systems to handle all your materials. The building system uses a modular approach where you're placing foundations, walls, and machinery in a way that creates efficient layout. And because you can play with up to 4 friends in co-op, you can collaborate on building these enormous industrial complexes. But here's the twist. Remember those ruptures I mentioned? Periodically, the planet's star goes supernova and wipes the surface clean with fire and destruction. This creates a unique building challenge. You need to design bases that can either withstand the rupture or be quickly rebuilt after. There are underground areas and protective measures you can take, which adds strategic depth to base placement and construction. The game also features base defense elements because you're not alone on this planet. Hostile alien creatures attack your facilities, so you need to incorporate defensive structures into your builds. Walls, turrets, and defensive positions become essential parts of your industrial base design. Now, StarRupture did get pushed back from its original 2025 release date, which always raises some concerns. But the developers have been transparent about needing more polished time. They recently ran a successful 2-week playtest that generated a lot of positive buzz. The Unreal Engine 5 visuals look stunning. They actually traveled to Iceland to capture realistic, harsh environment references, and the gameplay footage shows a really sophisticated building system. If you're into games like Satisfactory, Factorio, or Dyson Sphere programs, but you want it with a survival twist and co-op support, StarRupture is shaping up to be something special. Combination of factory building, automation, co-op play, and that ever-present threat of planetary destruction creates a unique pressure cooker building experience.
So there's your definitive ranking for sci-fi base building in 2026. Each game brings something different to the construction experience. The question isn't which one is best, it's which style of sci-fi construction matches what you're looking for. Drop a comment with your ranking. I guarantee it's different from mine.